Hey, welcome. Today we're going to be taking a look at the new collection from March 2024. This is Gore. So, Gore is a collection that has really everything you would hope and expect to be in here. We have things like melee punches and kicks, we have blunt and edged weapons, we have some body and internal type of Gore sounds. We also have some just standalone extreme and generic Gore as well. So, we'll have a quick overview here and then we'll jump into the main project and show you what it's all about. Also, as usual, we'll be demoing some of the sounds and with a little sample project and maybe come up with some cool ideas and ways that we could use Gore that might be interesting. So here we go, taking a look at the main project window. So we have 6 Reaper projects in total for Gore. Body Internal, Gore Extreme, Firearms and Archery, Gore Generic, Melee, and then also Weapons. Get started on the sub-projects. Let's check out the weapons sub-project here first. So scrolling through here a little bit, we can see there is quite a number of layers. So there's a lot to digest here and a lot to kind of listen to. But overall, what you'll find in here is we have blunt and edged type of weapons. We have things like stabs, hits, cuts, and slams, and then a few other types. We'll take a closer look at the edged cut large asset here. We'll listen to the whole thing and then we'll go layer by layer and see what it's made up of. Here's just the main layer by itself now. You can hear the metal shing coming off of that. Layer 2 is the Gore layer. So lots of gushy, wet sounding stuff in that. Layer 3, blade cut large. So again, just a very heavily distinct metallic sound there to flesh it all out. And then we have a weight layer or a sweetener. It's kind of like a low frequency sort of whoosh. And for this project, our cinematic layer is a cinematic type of reverb effect. So if I increase the volume fader, there's a nice little reverb already set up for you. It's cool, it's helpful, it's a nice little addition to make the sounds a little bit more accessible for you. Nice counterpoint, we'll do the impact slam for the blunt weapon. So here it is all together. And of course, layer 1 by itself. So very thick, obviously blunt sounding, like what we'd expect. It's the base of the sound for the main layer. Again, we have the Gore layer. So maybe a little bit more crunchy sounding. I mean, with a blunt object, it's kind of what you would expect. No added material for the layer 3 materials layer. And here we go with the sweetener. So just a little bit more added crunch, a little bit more oomph to the low end a bit. We'll put it together one more time. So really quickly, if you wanted to adjust something, maybe you want a little bit less Gore in the sound, you can obviously back that down. So, you might imagine a scenario inside of Wise, you might have several different random containers. Maybe you have one that has heavy Gore, one that's light Gore, and then one that's maybe no Gore at all. All you would have to do is adjust that volume slider and render it out via RioWise, and you would have all those things ready to go, and you could start building that system inside of your project. Each set of assets has a small, medium, and large variant. So I'll play the edge small, medium, large. Back over to the main project. Let's go ahead and open up the Gore body internal project. There's some really cool stuff going on here and some really fun macros to play around with to get the sound you want. All right, so inside here, primarily what we have is we have a blood stream asset and then various heartbeat assets. And then both of these have a really interesting macro system set up to control perspective and basically overall aesthetic for the bloodstream. So with heartbeat, you have interior and exterior, and then for the bloodstream, you can change it to thick or thinner, and then there's also an intensity for that. So per usual, these macros are set up to basically control multiple parameters within the Enrage plugins that are instanced on each of the layers. Here's the heartbeat soft, and we have medium and hard as well. So I have the Enrage plugin opened up here. If I start adjusting this macro, you'll see that it actually controls this cutoff filter for a low pass filter. So there, if I move it all the way to the right, I'll get more of an interior heartbeat type of sound. All the way to the left side, of course, it's more of an exterior type of sound. If you use more of an environmental or outside of the player, perhaps. I mean, you could get really creative with it, obviously. Real quick, we'll listen to each of the layers of the heartbeat. There's actually some interesting construction and sound design going on here. It's kind of like a low sub synth kick type thing. Hand squish, wet noodles, plunger. We have to hear the wet noodles plunger. So that's what's in there. Hydro. Some kind of low, gurgly, bubbly, liquid type stuff going on. And then a bubble texture. And then for the punch, let's see what we have here. It's actually a wooden desk knocking. I'm sure with some filtering and some, processing going on. Layer 5, we have synth heartbeat as a sweetener, so a little bit more low frequency content. All right, on to bloodstream. So here we have two different macros, one to make it thick or thin, as I said, and then the intensity. So let's just play with that for a second. Maybe I want something a bit thinner, but also still really intense. Keep it like that. Maybe we go the other way. Maybe we need something that's a bit thicker, but we don't want it as intense. Maybe more like a background sound to flesh out the ambience of a location or a space that we're in. So yeah, all this is set up for you. Again, Enrage is an awesome tool, and they're really leveraging it by making these macros, giving you a lot of coverage for any circumstance you might have for your game or project. To wrap up our sub-project overview, let's go ahead and check out the Firearms and Archery sub-project here. So in here we have bullet, small, medium, and large type of impacts. We also have a buckshot and then arrows. So let's just kind of quickly listen to each of those. Bullet small, bullet medium, bullet large, and here's our buckshot, and then an arrow. So here again, we have some cool macros. This one's very interesting and unique. It's a head versus body macro. So you can actually adjust the positioning of where these bullet or arrow impacts are occurring. So if you take it further to the right, it'll be more of a body. Further to the left, it'll be more of like a head type impact. Head right now, as I move it, you can hear some of the lower frequencies come out. It becomes a little bit lower centered. Back to head. But the lower you go, the deeper it is. And then we also have impact, which basically is kind of sort of increase the intensity or power behind it a little bit. There's full impact, and then impact all the way back down. All right, very good. So I guess I'll give my overall impression here now of the collection. We've gone through a bunch of different things. There's a lot of really cool features for this one in particular. So it strikes me that Gore is really an exceptional collection for a lot of different circumstances. And it also complements things like our weapons and our physics collection extremely well. Everyone kind of seems to maybe have a generalized idea of what you would expect out of a Gore sound library. But this really takes it to another level with some of those custom macros. They really allow you to take the material that's in here and fit it into a situation you might have in your game or whatever project you're working on. Those macros make this even more flexible. So I'm always impressed when they add those and they have those available for certain collections. There's a massive number of variations for everything. You have your small, medium, and large, which is great. And then also we have the general and extreme gore projects, which you can kind of take those and get really creative with them and start building out the gore collection for yourself and making it really custom to your needs. So I do have a little interesting sort of demo that I fleshed out in Unreal, kind of building on the project I've used the past few times. So we have some sort of gore type environmental sounds, and we'll play around with it and see how easily we can get these things to fit and start working for this little project here. All right, so we'll get started in Wise, and then we'll listen to each of these different asset classes inside the Unreal demo. I have 3 different types of events essentially set up. I have one type of event for the gore breaking and shattering whenever you shoot or destroy one of the little gore patches. So these have randomized probability whether or not they occur, and they are sort of set up the way I set up some of my physics systems in the past. Then with the heartbeat and the body internal bloodstream, these are set up to randomly play on any of the gore objects inside of the map. So there's a chance at the beginning, and it could be different every time, could make for an interesting sort of randomly generated environment if you want something like that. They also have a chance to randomize the pitch and the voice volume for each individual event on all of the individual game objects as it's triggered. And here's with the bloodstream. Here's the heartbeat events by themselves. Here's the buckshot by itself. Here's the gore break large sound all by itself without any of the small details. Then here's the teeth pulling layer, which I used for some of the smaller gore debris after the object breaks. And then here's everything all together. All right, hopefully that was interesting. Thank you again for watching, as you do each month when I release these videos. So be sure to subscribe, and that way you can see the new collections that come out, and we'll have a little fun with them and check them out together. More new collections from new partners are yet to be released, so look out for those in the coming months as well. And then I always like to encourage you, if you haven't already, go ahead and download those free sample projects for Strata. We have 2 available, totally free. The license is also included with those, so you could use those sample libraries in your project right away without buying a subscription. If you have questions or comments, be sure to head over to the Audio Kinetic community Q&A section. You can maybe find some answers to things there or ask, or you can leave a comment in the comment section below in the video and we'll check it out. So that's it for March, and I will see you next month in April. Until then, here's some more gore sounds from the audio demo.